Hey everyone, we are here today with Landon from Wichita Life. Again, he is back. He was the very first interview that I did. He's a great guy who's doing really great things. And before you listen to this one, I would highly urge you to listen to that one so you kind of get a background of what he's done. Again, real quick, he started his Instagram, been doing it for what, 7, 8 years or so, Landon?
The Instagram specifically was 8 years, and the
Okay,
newsletter is we're coming up on
five.
5 years next month. Yeah,
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 yeah. So you're again, it's so funny to say it this way, but you're kind of an old dog in this
yeah.
industry, right? So I feel like you're one of the smartest guys in the space. So you're a perfect one to have on again. So just wanted to let's just chat and
Yeah.
I think people appreciate people doing this who are just ahead of them, like what's working, what's not,
hmm
all that kind of stuff. So let's just chat about a few things. So I reviewed our first episode and wanted to go over couple of things that jump out, things people are most interested in. So
Sure.
let's start with the obvious, which is ads, right? Selling
Yeah.
ads. Um, what? Give me an overview. Again, maybe this is kind of what you said in the first episode, but tell me a little bit about how you think about ads, what your kind of specific process is right now. Whether for inbound or outbound,
hmm
if you do any, and like how that works, and maybe some general numbers, like how often people reply and how much work it is to get them to sign on the dotted line.
Yeah, for sure. I would say okay. So just, bare basics. I set it up just like I think most of us do. Have the primary ad, and I think a lot of people right now are just focusing on the one ad, which I think is very smart because that's. I sell some like secondary ads, and I call them primary, secondary, and then baseline. So primary is what you always see. Whatever, it's my logo together with the Morning Brew logo or whatever. Little intro together with blah 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 has the picture, or I use a lot of gifs or rotating images. Their ad secondary is a little bit further down, same format with an image, and then baseline is like kind of the bottom of the stuff before I get to my events, and it's just like I don't know, two, 1 to 2, 3 sentences, no image, but they can still have a link. So I would say we don't sell a lot of those. Those are kind of just gravy. I had
Mm-hmm.
like a furniture company doing that one for a while, which was a few $100 for basically nothing. I just copy and pasted whatever they sent. So that worked well, and it doesn't take up ad spots because nobody else is really competing for that spot because I'm not selling that
Mm-hmm.
many yet. But I would say like I send 4 times a week, so that's
Mm-hmm.
important to know. And the reason I'm at 4 times a week is because going from 1 to 2 was kind of ad slot related, but also just like content related. Like if you write these, and I do cover local news, not just events and stuff, it just gets bloated. And so
Yep.
anything over like 14 or 1500 words is just too long, and it'll start to clip it, especially if you have images. If it's over like 102, was it megabytes? It kind of
Kilobyte.
starts to cut it. And so then it gets clipped by Gmail and deliverability stuff. Um, so I started trimming it. And so then now I had 2 times. But then from there, it was like I went to 3 times because I needed more ad slots. And I went to 4 times because I needed more ad slots. And not that I sell out every single primary ad, but I sell out most of them. And normally I have something I can move around or slot it in. Or like I do have 2 or 3 secondary sponsors. If I don't have a primary for a certain day and I have a secondary, I'll just slot them up and kind of
Mhm.
free bump up for
Yeah,
them
yeah.
because it works for everybody then. Or I'll slot in, and we'll talk about it a little bit. Like I have a job board, so I can slot in my job board to one of these ads anytime, which is kind of where I want to get to. And I think a lot of us are like, okay, we want to start a service business or a local business, which is awesome. But obviously, that's a whole nother business you have to run then. When a job board is something I use Niceboard, which is extremely easy to use. You set it up in 10 minutes, and it's like I own all of that, and I can just push people again. I already didn't have an ad slot for that, so it's just free money there. But I would say one thing that is kind of nice is like I don't have every ad slot filled up because sometimes you never know. Like I work with a couple bigger companies and like they have to go through approval processes, and sometimes it's kind of slow. And so it's like whatever, it's Monday and they're going out on Wednesday and they're not quite ready. I know I can either swap somebody else out or bump them, and I have a free ad slot somewhere in the month, usually 1 or 2 that I can kind of. It gives me a little bit more flexibility to again like kind of publish or promote my own stuff, or flexibility to move other stuff around for deadlines or people are slow or bureaucracy with businesses,
Mhm.
whatever that looks like. So
Man, I got a bunch of questions here.
yeah.
First, what you're describing, how do you track all this? Because if you have 20, 30, whatever companies you're working with and different ads and the copy, like where are you storing all this? How are you keeping this straight on whose ad goes when and which section and all that? That sounds
I wish I had like a great system. I mean, I have a decent system. Like I don't miss the ad slot, but I just have a Google Sheet that has
Okay.
like it's. Let me see. Let me see what it looks like. It has a. Okay, so it has like the date is one column, and then I have like primary, secondary, and then I have like my other one. So it's just columns, each one of those. And then I'll just go through and I mean, just literally copy and paste. So like a lot of my deals are like they get 2 primary emails a month. So I'll just say like whatever. Like I work with the city of Wichita. So like for January, it's like city of Wichita, and I'll put like one dat or one period one, and then on whatever 2 weeks later, I'll put city of Wichita one for January period two. So I know those are their two for the month. And then a lot of those, like that one's been recurring for I don't even know, probably a couple years now at this point. And so I'll just like fill out the whole year with them, one or two, to make sure I'm like I don't oversell it or something, right? Because like there's always like 15 conversations in the works, but like nobody's committed to something there. I don't want to like oversell, like, oh shoot, like I promised you a primary spot, we don't have any. But it's a good way. That's kind of how I do it, and it's super simple. I've tried. I think it's a great company, but Sponsy has a good tool. But I'm relatively disorganized that I would like to have their process, because it's like you would send the approval for that ad to your advertiser. So again, City of Wichita example, I would send them, hey, here's the copy, here's the image. They can request tweaks or approve it. And then I used to use Kit or ConvertKit. And then I think on Beehive too, now you can just plug in that like block straight into your email and not have to copy and paste, and which again isn't a big deal, but it's like you can plug it straight in. So like it's an approved ad plugged straight in, and all the correspondence is built into that tool. Again, I don't use this because I'm kind of disorganized, and a lot of the stuff is like I already have these email correspondences going for the last several months, so it's like they're already used to getting emails over in Gmail from me. If really, I think what I would like to do is like for new partners, use a tool like that. But then the other part of that is like, I think Sponsy, they charge per slot. So like if I have 20 ad slots, it's going to cost me more than if I have 8 ad slots. So like right now I have 16 primary ads, roughly 4 times a week, 16 a month. So it's going to cost me a couple $100, and it's like, it's probably worth it for the organization. But like if I add in my secondary email ads and my baseline ads, I'm spending, again, I don't know what the numbers are. Last time
I'm looking at it right now. It says 109 a month for up to 15 ads per month. Is that ad slots or ads total?
I think that's ads total. That's why I was like, I think I was like, yeah, exactly.
It says $7 per extra ad.
Okay, so that's not terrible. But again, it's like, do you want to pay that on top of everything else? And now there's Beehive's tool, I think, that does something similar. And so I just haven't used it. Ideally, that's what I would use. But right now, Google Sheets is Google Sheets and email.
I hate that that's the right answer, but I'm pretty sure like that's the right answer. In my case, the reason I can't use the Beehive one is because I have 2 newsletters that because they're the same area. I'm trying to pitch as like a combo for a lot of these brands, and if they sign up for both, the system doesn't recognize both. Like,
have you talked to them at all? I wonder if that's something they could put on the roadmap.
I have talked to them about some other, not that I did not mention that, but I've talked about some other stuff. But no, that's super interesting. So let me clarify too. When you say the primary ad, because I want to know how you smart guys like you who are doing this really well are thinking about the below the title that says sponsored by, and it just has the logo. Is that all they get, or is there like, if you sponsor the main ad, it's up there and then it's slightly below with your full content?
So,
is that what it is?
Yeah, so the primary ad, I guess, is, if you look at it like that, is kind of a package, right? So you get your logo right at the top. So it's like, if somebody opens it, there's no way they're not seeing that logo, because it's literally right there. But then basically their ad essentially is almost the same, because it's like, I do pretty short intros, and then maybe like one head news story if it's like pretty important, but the ad is right there. Like then the rest of the news. And then it's like 2 more news sections. I usually do like local business. And then like I cover like, there's a lot of good like startup ecosystem here. So I'll do like local business, like openings of restaurants or whatever else, startup stuff. And then it's the secondary ad. But that primary one, so you get the logo at the top plus like whatever. I say it's 50 to 100 words. I never actually count. It's a couple paragraphs with links and then an image. So pretty much like you would see again in Morning Brew. That's where I copied everything like that from. But yeah, like, and all the, like the logo at the top is clickable. Usually gets like a handful of clicks. It's probably accidental stuff, but like they're getting clicks and maybe going to the website. So,
I mean, that's more like the brand awareness side, right? Like people are seeing your brand, thousands of people, and that you're legit enough to sponsor a really big newsletter like this.
Exactly.
Right? So,
Exactly.
okay. And so primary and secondary are the same length, base.
Yeah,
It's just
I
lower down.
consider them the same exact thing basically, except
Yeah.
what primary has the logo. Yep, at the top.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Which you obviously are charging more for, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's probably, I mean, 25% more maybe ish. I don't know the exact number. Yes, ballpark. Like every deal is different, so it just kind of depends. So
Okay. Remind me on your sales of these. You already mentioned the city itself, which is obviously a great one to have. It's one of the most logical, but that you have a long-term deal with them. You're generally, I assume, trying to sell these as either, sign up for the whole year or at least 6 months. I mean, is that what you're usually going for?
I am, yeah. I mean, ideally, yeah. The
Yeah.
longer, the better. A lot of them, though, it'll be like they want 3 months, or like there's a couple like a home cleaning company that I work with. It always ends up being like August through December,
Mm-hmm.
and then they always kind of roll off at the beginning of the year, which is great. But it's like now I can kind of start to plan for that. But a lot of them, and one thing I would probably recommend people do what I do not do, but like have some sort of contract in place. So a lot of my bigger deals I do, but like a lot of these are just like handshake deals, and
Mm-hmm.
like they could cancel tomorrow and I can't fight them on that, which is
Mm-hmm.
fine. But like a lot of them, it's like I know them well enough and we have some rapport.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and I guess an example, which I nothing I could have done about this, but like I've been working with a local real estate company to do home of the week, and it was a great deal, like low four-figure deal per month that was
Wow.
highlighting it's on social media home of the week, and then it's the same house in the newsletter that week. So they're
Mm-hmm.
getting 4 times on social, which we have 50,000 on Instagram and more on Facebook and wherever else, and then 4 times in our email where we're almost at 30,000. So they've been getting a steal of a deal. First of all, I've been needing to raise prices on them as we kind of approach doing it for a year or so. But what I'm getting at is they just sold their residential division to a different a bigger, more national company like last week, and so we're not doing home of the week anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, but I also have a list now of 12 to 15 different either individuals or brokerages that reached out to me over the last couple months interested in doing home of the week. So I'm like, price just doubled and I'm
That's
going to go
right.
kind of shop it around. I'm probably going to wait a couple weeks and like post a couple more. Cause when I used to do it for free, and it was just like
Mm-hmm.
post like $1 million houses around Wichita. Cause
Yep.
like, I don't know about in Austin anymore, but like in Wichita, $1 million house is a
Yeah.
mansion. That's a big
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
And so it was just fun to kind of share some of those. And then when I was working with this local company, we did share some of those, but then some of them were more realistic, which people also like to see.
Yeah.
But they would pick the home, so it's gonna be fun for a couple weeks. I can kind of pick it and say, "Hey, this is not sponsored, but if you're interested, hit me up and we can kind of
Mm-hmm.
talk." So, but that being said, like I didn't have a physical contract in place with them. Not that it probably would have been void by the
Yeah.
terms of the sale, but like I should probably implement at least like a one pager or something like that with some of these companies. But a lot of people, I would say, I try to get them on for as long as possible. So like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these are like, let's do a year and we'll talk again at the end of the year. Like I'm working with a medical place here in town, and we're coming up on a year and we're kind of re-upping, and I'll raise the price a little bit. But again, no
Mm-hmm.
formal contract in place, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's just kind of a handshake over email and stuff.
Yeah.
But,
Just quick aside, because I'm only now digging into it, but I started using HoneyBook to solve
okay,
this problem that
yeah,
you're talking about, which allows you to have like the built-in step-by-step, like, oh, here's the proposal. Okay,
yeah,
they pick that proposal. Here's the contract, sign the contract. Okay, here's the link to pay.
yeah.
Kind of
That's a
does,
good
which I
idea.
think
Yeah,
is like the Sponsy thing, but so it's kind of probably a little better in some ways, a little worse in others,
so I
but
think people
might be
use
worth
that for
looking into.
like a lot of people use that for like. I feel like in my head when I think of HoneyBook, it's like photographer, like wedding photographers or like wedding
It's
vendors or something.
It's anything like that, like any sort of
Okay,
solopreneur where you're like making deals with people, sending
right,
proposals, they say yes, then you have a contract, then you get them to pay.
yeah,
Plus, then of course it almost acts as a mini CRM, which actually I wanted to ask you about. So you were mentioning like all your communication with all these people. Okay, this company paid for 3 months and they fell off, then they came back, and this company. How are you keeping up with all that? Because that sounds like a lot too. Is this just
it
like
is. It's
just
duct
emails? Or?
duct taped together. A lot of it's
Okay.
emails, and then like a lot of the time, I live also by like reminders in my phone. So if it's like, what's an example? Like a local baseball team here in town or something, and it's like they say it's not a good time. This is a made up example, but like it's not a good time right now, but like reach out to us in a couple months. I'll just set a reminder in my calendar
Oh,
for two
okay.
months from then.
Yep.
I probably should have like a more formal, because a lot of that could be automated.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's like I feel like I'm usually working in the business when I need to be
Mm-hmm.
working like on the business. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of us are guilty of that, but that's something
Yeah.
I struggle with is like, okay, how do I get stuff done ahead of time? Because again, I'm writing 4 newsletters a week, so it's like, how can I get that done early enough that I can then spend a couple hours working on the business instead of just constantly on the treadmill of trying to keep up with that? But I do
Yeah.
not have a good system in place right now. So if anyone has any great suggestions, I'm open to trying stuff. But
Yeah. The one that I've started using, again, I think you and I have a similar issue where, I mean, how much, if you had one, would you like end up not using it because you kind of have
that's the problem.
Sometimes that's the problem because we have one. We signed up for Close, just the word close.com.
Mm-hmm.
And it is pretty good. One of the things that might be really good about it for you is that you can connect your email and it can then track all the emails in the system. Right. And so, and so that has been, again, just my decent experience playing with it. If you use it correctly, it's probably awesome. The problem is using it correctly is annoying. And so sometimes we just
for sure. I have a question for you real quick. Actually.
Yeah.
I know you have virtual assistants and stuff.
Yeah.
We're about to make our first hire as like a social media. We're calling it an intern because I can't pay him very much right now. We're calling him an intern, and I have trouble like giving up the keys to the kingdom. So like I'll probably still be like the approver and posting it myself, but they'll create the content and stuff like that. At least some of it. My question is, how do you manage like tasks for stuff like that? So like at my day job, we use like Monday.com to kind of manage project management, subtask and tasks. How do you go from like for again, social media, for example, like, okay, here's the idea, here it's in this person's, I don't know, inbox or whatever, their workflow. Here it is, it's ready for approval. How do you manage that, or do you manage that?
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure this out. So a couple things. I paid somebody to help me set up a Notion.
Notion. I love Notion. I just haven't organized it that well. Yeah.
I feel like Notion, again, just like all this stuff, technically it does exactly what you want, right? But it's just a pain to do what you want because what you want is kind of complex. And so it really just takes training yourself and, of course, the other person to know that you just need to use it for everything and get in the habit of it. And because I'm kind of the opposite of you in that I'm not in the business. My wife kind of manages that. So we have this Notion and I'm pretty sure they're using it, but like I don't use it because I don't deal with the content. So that's why it's kind of hard for me to answer. I think they're liking it. I know my wife doesn't, but she doesn't like, any software. So I think Notion's going okay. The other one that I just signed up for, and it's funny, I had a call on Friday, and the guy told me this, which was really interesting. So we started using Todoist. Have you ever heard of Todoist? Mm-hmm. So I signed up for just literally to be a to-do list because Notion is just too not fast and bulky. Mm-hmm. So I signed up for this, and I really like it as just quick stuff. Oh, we got to do this. Oh, I found a link. Let me deal with this later. So anybody wanting a super simple one, I would say Todoist is great. But I met a guy on Friday who told me that he literally replaced Notion with Todoist, and he set up this whole system in Todoist. Now, it cannot, of course, fully replace Notion, but if you're just trying to do simple things, it may be possible to leverage some of the stuff a tool like Todoist has, which is just like a streamlined version of Notion.
Okay, I'll also check that out.
The reason for me it's so difficult is because we're running, as of today, 4 newsletters, probably 6 to 8 in the next month or so. That is the biggest piece of complexity for our Notion is like, well, which newsletter is it for? And, we have different tags for that, but it gets really crazy. That's why Todoist would not work for us. But if you are just doing Wichita and you only have one other person, I wouldn't be shocked if you could make Todoist work for what you need, and it would be quicker and easier. So between those two, those are the two that we're doing right now.
I can't remember which one it was. Snedden was on a podcast at some point, sometime recently, and he had the way he had his note. Has he been on this yet?
No, I need to get him on.
Okay, you need to get him on. But on one of the podcasts, he walked through his Notion board and how he like uses it to even assign like individual articles for like the next day and stuff like that. He had it done really well. So I probably need to go review that too, because I could probably do a very basic version of that for what I need for this. But
yes, exactly. Because again, Notion does have so much power if done right. It's just hard to do it right. That's why I had to pay somebody on Upwork to set it up for me.
Yeah, for sure. So your newsletters, are you doing one time a week for all of those?
No, we're up to twice on mine. Cool. 2 of the 4 we're doing twice a week.
Cool.
And then the other 2 are once. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. I hired my 3rd person last week or 2 weeks ago, and still feels like a lot. It's when you add people, it just gets chaotic, right? Because it's like who's doing what and who's communicating with who. That obviously 3 people is nothing like a real you hear the stories of like, okay, once you get to 10, that's when things like kind of start to break down and you have to change things.
Right.
I feel like I'm already feeling it at 3, but
Right.
probably because I'm not very good at this, but
But
you
it's,
got
if
to
you get
try
the
and get better.
systems in now, though, it'll scale
That's right.
better in the future. So yeah,
That's literally the goal. Last question on ads. Do they
yeah.
write the copy or do you write the copy? Or is it a comp or both?
It goes both ways. So
Okay.
I'll write it sometimes. I always ask like if there's anything specific they want to include. So like sometimes there's like a one-liner they just want to make sure that's in there, and I'll usually take a first stab at it. But like I've worked with some companies, they're like this has to have approval by everybody. So it's like I'll take a first stab and then send it to them, or I'm like just send me something. But most of the time I try to put it in my voice. There's times when I don't, and I just put it in. But most of the time I try to put it in somewhat of my voice. So
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Tell me about the job board because this does feel like, I mean, I guess it's very dependent on where you are. For me specifically, thinking about it being in like a further suburb or maybe like it's a really small town, there could be more value there. But then again, you're in a bigger, legit town center. I mean, tell me how it's working and how you sell that. What are your thoughts on job boards?
yeah, for sure. I think I've probably been doing it about a year now, and it's kind of expensive. I mean, it's not super expensive. It's
Talking
probably
about Niceboard?
yeah,
Okay.
179 I think maybe sticks out a
Oh,
month, something like that.
damn, that is a lot.
Something like that.
229.
Okay, so maybe I think it was
279.
cheaper when I signed up originally, so maybe I have a little bit of a deal.
Okay, so this is expensive, but there are definitely cheap versions of this. I've seen
But-
some of these that are $100 one time. So
Sure, exactly. But the beauty is this took me literally 10 minutes to set up. And like if somebody posts a job right now, I charge $199 for a featured listing. So it gets some kind of a mention in my newsletter or on social.
Okay.
Plus it's like whatever starred on the job board itself. And the regular listing is just $99. So it's like you sell one featured listing or two regular listings and you broke even.
so
Yeah.
okay, so if it featured, you put it in the newsletter, so that's great. If it's not like, so is this on your website somewhere?
Yeah, it's like a subdomain. So it's jobs.wichitalifeict.com. And so I link to it from there. But really, honestly, the main traction I get is from when I post it in my newsletter.
That's
So
what
it'll be like, hey, you can post a job here. Plus, you can find a job like this job at the city, this accounting job, this whatever pet sitter job. And I do it there. And then I'm not great about it on social, but like I made like in Canva, I just made like a template where I could highlight like it's got like 3 kind of empty spots. It kind of looks pretty and whatever. And I put like the job title. I'll tag the business if they have an Instagram, which most of them do, and then I'll usually put like whatever full-time job, 65,000 a year, and then the link to like my job board. So then it all goes through there. But it has like a nice analytics back end, so I can see how many times it was viewed, how many people applied through the link, all that kind of stuff. So and I mean I've had several recurring people that keep putting jobs on there, so people must be getting hired. But I mean sometimes, so I like just started kind of, I'll usually like seed the board, so I'll go put in I don't know 5 or 10 jobs so it doesn't look like it's empty, and then I'll promote it. Like I put it in today's email and I already had one person pay for a spot from that, and that's the only place it was in. And it was like a small, it was a secondary ad I think. But yeah, so the more I promote it, the more people sign up, but then I just kind of get lazy and it falls off, or I'm full of ads and I don't promote it. So it's like kind of staying on top of it. But I think if I got more momentum behind it, it would kind of snowball. But I'm definitely net positive over the last year. I've made a few $1,000 net probably. So, but it's I mean it's pretty nice, and it's just nice to have another offering again that's like not having to start a whole new business. Like it's very little maintenance. Like when I add a job post, I literally just Google Indeed Wichita jobs, and you can take a link and it basically auto populates. You usually have to clean up 1 or 2 things, but then you can just submit it. So it's like it takes me 5 minutes to like add some stuff so it doesn't look like it's empty.
To get 10 jobs on your board. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Very interesting. I like this one a lot too. Again, coming back to how do you differentiate from AI? I mean, I guess in theory AI could do this, but it's not likely somebody's going to be doing that.
I have seen that AI guy that has like 350 cities or whatever.
Yeah.
So I still check his. One, it's actually kind of a good little resource for me because it's giving me easy stories. But 2, they have like subsections for events, and it's like submit your event, and they charge like I don't know $13 a day or something random like that. I can't remember what it is. but
Mm.
they have a job board section there. I haven't seen anybody
Yeah.
pull the trigger on
Okay.
that, but
Yeah.
I have seen people that are paying for ads there for events
Yeah.
there. So I'm gonna go talk to those people and tell them to come talk
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm interested to like I'm gonna talk to these people that are paying for those just to see their thoughts on that
Hmm.
newsletter because I'm wondering if they're just getting it or if they know the story behind it or what. I'm just
Yeah. I
curious.
know. I
Like
was gonna say. I wonder if they
it
may
is
not
what it
even
is.
know.
I don't really care,
Yeah.
but it's like I'm curious
Yeah.
how they feel about it. But
Yeah. Dude, that's a great way. You see people already spending money, plus you have an
exactly,
interesting story to tell them. So that's cool.
exactly.
All right. So yeah, job board. I definitely think there's something there, but yeah, it does seem like, especially for people getting started. Again, you're almost at 30,000, right? So
Mhm.
that's going to be tougher for people to do at the beginning, probably. But it's something to have on the roadmap. I think. I
For
mean, it's
sure, yeah. Well, and again, there's probably a cheaper tool that you could try it out for
yeah,
way
yeah,
cheaper, and I think there's actually like something that would be good for you. Like if you started doing it, I'm pretty sure they
yeah.
have an affiliate thing, so like you can
Okay.
get
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know 20% recurring if somebody signs up from your link. So like you could just plug that
yeah,
on these podcasts or whatever. So
yeah. So everybody, do not sign up until next episode. I'm going to get that set up.
sign up, message
Um,
Wichita Life on Instagram, hit me up.
yeah.
I'll give you my link.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, actually, now that I think about it, why couldn't you do this? I mean, it may not be quite as good, but if somebody had theirs up somewhere, could you just say, "Hey, I'll just put it in the newsletter," and like even if you don't have a nice board, like the back end, it's just like, "Hey, it's going to be featured in the newsletter. You're going to get 5,000, 10,000 eyeballs on it, and that alone is that worth $25, $50."
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And then you don't have to deal with any of this back end stuff. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
might be harder, but it's possible.
Somebody that has
Yeah.
done it, they cobbled together their own. It looks amazing. But have you talked to the guys that do? I think they had it. Yeah, NWA Daily, Northwest Arkansas Daily.
No, I just connected with somebody who knew them like a week or two ago. I
It looks
definitely need
like
to talk to them.
it looks like they switched to Niceboard. Yeah, they do. They use
Oh,
Niceboard
did
now.
they?
They had their own version that they made
Okay.
for a
Really?
while, but
Nice.
clearly there must be a better reason or a reason to use Niceboard than if they're using it now.
Yeah.
But you should talk to those guys. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Pat and their
Oh,
team
really?
is really good.
Good. Somebody connected with them. I think I might have a call scheduled with them either this week or next week. So that's
Yeah.
cool. Sorry, I'm looking at their job board because they're on Beehive, but then they have a bunch of links at the top that looks like I don't know if that, I don't know what's going on with their site, but it's a little interesting. Okay. Yeah. And I'm looking at their job board right now. It does look really clean and professional. So that's all. Okay. All right, let's talk about events. So we talked on the last one that you have done at least a few times a kind of annual thing, which I think I remember you saying went really well,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So, but are you thinking about doing more events, more frequent, different
Yeah.
type? What are you thinking there?
Yeah, I'd like to do more. So right now we've just done an annual event. I think this is our fourth one. We do it every April as kind of like an anniversary party. They're not super profitable. I mean, we might make a little bit of money. Sometimes we break even. It just kind of depends on who we ended up using as vendors and that kind of stuff. And like this year, I don't know if I have one here. We made these sweet Wichita Life hats, and so I just gave those out as like a party favor. So we broke even this year, but like I handed out 110 of these hats to like influential
nice.
people in Wichita. So I'm like,
Yeah,
that's a net positive for me.
that's marketing dollars. Yeah.
Exactly. So we've done that, and then we did one-off event. There's a lady here that I had her on my podcast, I don't know, probably 4 years ago now, named Audra, but she calls it a women's leadership collective, which for the longest time, even after I interviewed her, I wasn't exactly sure what that meant. But basically, like she hosts lunches and like they're in cohorts, so it's like every, I don't know, it's like 2 or 3 months at a time, but they have like lunch and learns and like networking stuff, and she crushes it. She's like the queen of Wichita when it comes to like women's networking and stuff. And then she also she expanded to Kansas City, so she's in 2 cities now. But anyways, we co-hosted an event with her called This Is Her. And so she had built this brand already and hosted like a different type of This Is Her event. But my idea was I heard Sam Parr talk about, I can't remember what he called it. It was basically, it's like TED Talks, but it's for women. And so, so we had 5 or 6, I think we had 6 women each speak, and they have like 5 or 10 minutes. And it's very like, kind of, again, like a TED Talk, like condensed. Maybe it was 7 or 8 minutes. But then after every 2 of them, we kind of had time that you could network and meet some of the other women in the room. It was awesome. It sold out in like an hour, mainly because of her, partly because of me, mainly because of her network.
Yeah.
It was an awesome event, and then she just got too busy, so we didn't do another year of it. But that event was amazing. That was a great event, and everyone made a little bit of money. But really, for networking, it was awesome. But I definitely want to do more. Part of it is like Wichita just got voted like the second worst dating city in the U.S.
Yep.
I married my high school sweetheart, so we've been together for like 15 years. So I don't even know what it means to date. Like
Hmm.
Tinder didn't exist back then.
Hmm.
Um, so I playing around with some type of dating event. One that somebody else brought to town that they've done a couple that I was thinking about doing, and then I understood like they had like the rights or whatever to this type of event, but it was called Pitch a Friend. And so basically, like you show up, they do it at a comedy club here in town, but like if you're single and I'm your friend, I could pitch TJ as like it's like a PowerPoint. It's like a funny PowerPoint about why you should date my friend. And so that's doing pretty well. But it's like, what
Wow.
are twists on those type of events? And then I've ran a couple polls recently that are like, what type of event do you want us to host? And so I did like I don't know 20s or 30s meetup, like a millennial meetup, like 40 plus. Like what are you interested in? And overwhelmingly, like, people want like a 20s and 30s meetup. They want like something to go do. And so that's a cool one that I'll probably end up doing. Probably just like meet up at a brewery or something like that. I haven't like talked details yet, and trying to get through. We're helping out with like Riverfest, which is like the big annual week long event here in a couple weeks. And after that, I'll probably start planning one of these. But
Nice. So with those, are you planning on charging for those? Like, are you
I
intending
don't
for those
know.
to
That's what
make
I'm
you
trying to
money?
figure out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the meetup thing, I'm like, I've seen, I think somebody you had on, they charged $20
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
over on the East Coast somewhere. I can't remember who it was.
Yep.
But like, I like that idea, but also I'm like, is it just good for networking and like we're growing the brand? I'm like, I don't know. Like, am I making enough money to make it worth it? Because it's like the Tim Ferriss thing. It's like either make it free or super expensive. So it's like,
Okay.
I don't
I
know.
mean,
Is it worth? Again, I see
yeah,
both sides of it. I'm like, it'd also be
totally.
nice to make $500 to host an event for a couple. Like Mike is always doing that. So,
I know.
but in
Yeah.
the thousands. But how?
Yeah.
What's worth it? So
Yeah. I mean, that is tough. I mean, I think the most likely, probably best decision at the beginning is to make it free, just because you're just starting and you don't know how it's going to go.
right.
But free sometimes also brings out the stranger
Right. I
people.
think
I
I
was
want to
talking
do
to.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I don't want just like anybody to show up.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but like you know what I mean.
Oh,
Like you
it's
want people to have some
yeah.
skin in the game too.
That's
So
right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I talked to somebody that's this last week who's doing local newsletter, but more higher end. And yeah, he talked about that. Like when you do it for free, you get more, but you get, people
right,
you kind of wish weren't there. Usually those people self-select out when you
right,
charge, usually. So
exactly.
um, give and take with everything, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's a lot of different types of events I'm interested in.
Yeah.
I'm friends with like one of the guys. He hosts like a lot of the big events in town. So like he'll do Taco Fest, which is like one of
Yeah.
the bigger events in town, and it'll be like I don't even know 3 to 10,000 people show up depending on the year. Like it's crazy, like huge. And so it's like I partner with him on a lot of stuff,
That's
and by partner
yeah.
it's like I'm a sponsor and I'll help promote it and like sometimes some cash on one end or another. But like a lot of the time it's just me kind of helping them out. But it's like we've been talking about how do we actually actually partner on an event to put on something new for the city. So
Yeah, I think that's dude. If you already know somebody and you're friends with who's already got a big audience like this and stuff, I think yeah, being able to figure out how to help each other, and in your case,
right.
just getting your brand awareness out there more, right? Your
Mm-hmm.
big brand name on the like whatever the big signs that they
Yep,
have seems
exactly. Yeah,
really
the big
valuable.
signs, and then we also sponsor like every year. I think we're like the best taco. So it's like the Wichita Life best taco. So like there, whoever wins gets a plaque, and it normally says like whatever Taco Fest best taco 2025, sponsored by Wichita Life. So my logo's on that, and like it's a nice plaque. Like they're hanging that in their restaurant. So it's
Hmm.
like okay,
Yeah,
now I'm associated with the best taco in Wichita, or
yeah,
whatever the stuff is. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I love that. I love that. Um, okay, so I know we only have a couple more minutes. Is there anything that you think we should talk about, or any other advice or concepts maybe that you've been thinking about? I mean, when were you on? Like 2 months ago ish. So
hmm
anything new in the last 2 months you think might be interesting for people?
Nothing crazy. Something now, especially like just timing wise, I guess, with the real estate deal kind of closing that I've had for a while is I think one of the guys, the guy that does the Alec, he does the Jerusalem one.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm. He's gonna be on next week, I think. Yeah.
oh, perfect. So
Yeah.
something that came to mind, he brought up the other day, but I follow the Afforda Homes newsletter, which is like it's in they're in Europe. I don't know where they're at, but they kind of post like affordable homes all over Europe, and so it's
Mm.
literally like 10 listings basically of like 50 I don't know pounds or euros or whatever they have over there like less than 50 euro homes, and it's
They're
like
just
some
curating Zillow, basically.
yeah, but it's like some villa in Italy or something that's like it's pretty sweet, but it's like 50, it needs some work, but it's like
Yeah.
$50,000. And so I like that idea, but I think I would twist it and do something like I don't know if I would do it just for Wichita. I probably could just do it for Wichita, and then obviously like directly just push subscribers over there. But either do it that way or like a Midwest one, maybe
Hmm.
something like that. But like probably high end. But or maybe like I've also thought of like okay, maybe I have a section that's like high end, like only $1 million+ homes. Maybe there's like a I don't know, actually affordable home section that's less than 1 million, and then like I don't know, like interesting Airbnb section or something like that. And like I could each one of these sections could be sponsored by somebody who has a sweet Airbnb, somebody that has $1 million listing, they could pay for a slot, whatever that looks like. Don't know what it looks like or probably actually do it, but that's definitely something. I mean, there's like I know you look at a lot of those like local magazines. There's one of those that does it in town. It's like Real Producers or whatever.
Okay.
She's crushing it. She's a friend of mine here in Wichita, but like the real estate stuff crushes it. So I'm
Really?
like, okay, maybe there's something there too that would work. So and you could also have it sponsored by title companies,
Hmm.
brokerages, mortgage companies. Like there's a lot of different angles you could take that, and I think it'd be fairly easy to make. Like do it once a week, pull a couple cool things from Zillow, like make it C line process. Maybe that's something like on the Beehive store, like a Sponsy store. It's just like click it. I want next whatever the third week of May. I want the home of the week, the top home of the week, and it costs a little bit more. I don't know. I'm
Hmm.
playing around with that. Probably not serious about it anytime soon, but that's definitely an idea I have in the back of my
Yeah.
head.
No, I mean that's kind of what we already do right now. I think our real estate section, that's what we do. We cover like a cheap home, like a starter home, a
Hmm.
normal,
Okay, I need to
mainstream
look at
home.
yours. Yeah,
Yeah, and then the highest end home we can find, which in two of my newsletters is always over 10 million, which is pretty fun.
that's
But
insane.
yeah, it's really cool. But and I think ours looks visually really nice. My operations manager made it in Canva, and I think it looks really nice. But it only shows one picture of the home, And so when you were doing this, or when you feature homes at all, do you normally do a like a GIF of multiple
I
images?
do. Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
think that probably is the better way to do it. The downside from my perspective is it just takes up more space. So if you're trying to feature three homes and you're doing like full size photo, then description, then full size photo, like it takes a lot of scrolling on a phone.
Mm.
And maybe I'm just overthinking it. Like maybe that's just not a problem.
I think you might be overthinking it. I would just try
Yeah,
it and
just
see.
do it. Yeah,
I put a lot of images and gifs. Honestly,
yeah,
I
yeah,
put a lot in my stuff, and
yeah.
I almost always when I can make it kind of a rotation of.
Hmm.
Typically, I do I don't know maybe 5 to 7, sometimes more on those, and then like what I've been doing lately is like I keep bumping up against like the 102 megabytes on
Oh yeah,
Beehive
we do
where
all
it
the yeah.
clips, and what I've been doing is like okay the images that I'm bringing in, because a lot of time I'll just copy and paste from places, which that's a nice thing. Kit wasn't very good about letting you copy it. Maybe they fixed it and pasting it straight in, but like
Mm.
on here, like I could copy a picture off of your website and put it straight into Beehive pretty easily, copy and paste.
Oh, okay.
But what I've been doing lately is like, okay, if I'm like, I don't know, 106 megabytes in the
Mhm.
email, I'll double check or like download that image, and a lot of time it's like a PNG and it's like 2.5 megabytes. I'll go compress it into a
Yeah,
JPEG and put it up at like zero point 0.7. So I just save myself too. That way it's just like trimming the fat a little bit. There's probably a more
yeah.
streamlined process, but maybe that's
I
what
don't know if
Beehive should
there
do
is.
too. Make it like PNG to JPEG or something, one
Yeah,
click, so it can
you
shrink
totally
the
should.
size. But
That is actually great advice. Yeah, because I think we all run into that with if you're trying to make
mhm.
it look visually appealing, it ends up being over, and it's really frustrating.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I agree though. Just the real estate angle of everything related to what we're doing is just so big, and there's so many different plays there, right?
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is
exactly.
so awesome. Well, hey, Landon, this has been great. Glad to have you on again. I think hopefully we're gonna have you back again soon, and we can just
Let's do
chat
it.
more ideas because I love
I'm always
talking to
down.
you because you're a star in the space. So appreciate
Appreciate
it.
it, man. Keep
All right,
crushing it. Thank you.
see ya.
Bye.